A lot of rappers talk about the violence and struggles they've lived through, but the truth is, this lifestyle comes with serious risks. Like Julio once said, if you're in the streets and grown, you already know what comes with it. You're either dead or in jail. Sadly, Julio himself became a victim of the streets, just like King Von, who lost his life the same way. Stay with me, and I'll take you through the stories of 9 rappers and their connections to gang stories that show how this lifestyle really plays out. NBA YoungBoy, born in 1999, has made a name for himself in both music and the streets. Known by many names, YoungBoy, Never Broke Again, YB, Top, AI YoungBoy, and 38 Baby, his upbringing on the north side of Baton Rouge shaped his identity. Growing up on North 38th Street and Chippewa Street, it's no surprise he's called 38 Baby, a name that's become a big part of his songs and albums. When it comes to gang affiliations, things aren't exactly clear. Some believe he's tied to the Bloods, while others aren't convinced. This question, is NBA YoungBoy a real Blood, has been the center of a lot of debate. Part of the confusion comes from his connection to Young Thug, but here's the truth. YoungBoy is affiliated with the 4KT gang, which is known for its green colors. If you've ever seen the artwork for his mixtape 38 Baby 2, the green flag tied to the street sign is a nod to those gang colors. One Reddit user even broke down YoungBoy's street connections in an interesting way. They explained that back in 2016, YoungBoy started a small crew called NBA, which stands for Never Broke Again. What began as a crew later became part of his identity, both in his music and on the streets. In late 2017, NBA YoungBoy and his crew were repping black flags, but things changed when he introduced 4KT, or 4K Trey. With this, they started flying red and light green flags. If you're from the streets, you know the blood slang. Words like slime, slat, and swoop. These terms are even heard in some of YoungBoy's biggest tracks like Dead Trolls and War With Us. Digging deeper, 4KT isn't just a name. It's a blood set created by YoungBoy himself. The name stands for Forever Killing Them, and it's made up of crews from Baton Rouge and other southern areas. Around 2017 or 2018, this group was officially recognized as part of the Blood Slime movement by Young Thug's YSL and 21 Savage's 21 Slaughter Gang. That's why you see 4KT using green flags and calling themselves Slime. A Reddit user once explained that 4KT was built by NBA YoungBoy and his close crew, who were originally tied to YSL and 21 Savage. But things got heated when 4KT started beefing with OTF, Lil Durk's powerhouse crew. This rivalry escalated after the death of King Von, fueling a feud that shook the streets. Young Thug is one of the most talented rappers to break out of the streets in the last decade. Growing up in the tough neighborhoods of Atlanta, he rose from nothing to become a global superstar with hit songs and massive fame. But behind the
what is your background? Like each. Okay, what's man, you got Thug, you gotta, when you do that.
Glitz and glamour is a man who lived deeply in gang culture, a life he's tried to move past while cleaning up the activities tied to his name. Thug wasn't just from the streets, he is the streets. His rough upbringing shaped him, giving him the kind of credibility that commands respect wherever he goes. When Sway once asked him where he was from, Thug's answer made it clear: his roots run deep in the trenches that built him. Young Thug has always been honest about his life in the streets. He once admitted, "I've been shot at, and I've been the shooter. I've been through it all, getting shot, robbed, stealing, killing, you name it." He grew up on Cleveland Avenue in Atlanta, a street that's now famous largely because of his success. But here's the thing, Cleveland Avenue isn't just another street. It's been a hotspot for gang activity for decades. Locals even call it Blevin Avenue because of its strong ties to the Bloods. The name comes from the Bloods' habit of replacing the letter C with B to show their hatred for the Crips. Young Thug's connection to Blevin Avenue goes way back. In an old video, he's seen flashing blood hand signs one after another, showing just how deeply he was tied to the hood life. Things took a darker turn when prosecutors claimed Thug wasn't just a rapper but a leader of a gang. During his RICO trial, they alleged that his gang operated like a pack to commit crimes and accused him of using his record label, L's, as a cover for illegal activity. According to court documents, Izzle wasn't just about music, it was also tied to street life. In his RICO trial, prosecutors made it clear that Young Thug and his crew were tied to a branch of the Blood Street gang known as Young Slime Life, or ILS. Fulton County prosecutor Adrian Love said the evidence would prove that ILS checked all the boxes for being a criminal gang. Young Thug ended up serving time in jail during the trial, but his lawyer pulled off some impressive moves, getting him out and bringing him back to his family. While Thug was getting released, another rapper, closely tied to Chicago street gangs, was warming up to take his place in the jail cell. This story isn't just about music. In hip-hop, where an artist comes from and who they're connected to often shapes their music and how the world sees them. Lil Durk, a rapper from Chicago, is one artist who's caught the attention of fans everywhere. His lyrics, which talk about his life, the struggles he's faced, and the streets he grew up on, have led people to wonder if he's connected to gangs like the Bloods or the Black Disciples.
Been locked up in Broward County Jail. He's there right now. This is his... Yes, Broward. He's in Florida. I got the whole thing on. Look on my stream. I got it. Oh my God. Bro.
As fans dig into his past, they find that Durk is really tied to the Black Disciples. To understand his music and why it feels so real, it's important to know how gang culture shapes his life. Durk's rise in music started when he got involved in the streets. In 2009, he joined the Black Disciples, one of the biggest gangs in Chicago. Before that, he was in high school at Paul Robeson, but he decided to drop out and get deeper into street life. His connection to the gang wasn't just a personal choice. It was also shaped by his family, especially his father, who was involved in the same lifestyle. Lil Durk's story isn't just about making music. It's about how the streets have shaped him and how those experiences show up in his art. It's a reminder that behind the success and fame, there's always a real story about where these artists come from and what they've been through. Lil Durk's story is rooted in the streets, and a lot of that comes from his family. His father, who was involved in drug dealing, was locked up around the time Durk was born. Growing up, Durk lived in areas like Lamar and 300, and he also reps THF 46 and Dog Pound. He's part of the Black Disciples street gang, specifically the OTF 300 set, which covers parts of the south side of Chicago like O Block, Front Street, Lamron, and 64th King Drive. Durk's rise in rap came through his connections to the 300 set, but his real breakthrough came through Chief Keef, who helped bring drill music to the mainstream. Durk inherited a lot of street credibility from his father's past, but he wasn't known as someone who was out there causing trouble or being a shooter. Instead, word on the street is that Durk was a well-liked guy in his neighborhood, someone people respected. On a subreddit about Chicago drill music, fans pointed out that Durk wasn't known for violence, but for being a solid and respected figure in his block. When he made it in the music world, Durk didn't forget where he came from. He made sure to look after his people, supporting them, even when they were locked up. Rappers like Quando Rondo in LA, along with his cousin Nooski, and Law, have had tough lives, and sadly, many of them have fallen victim to rival gangs like Y51. Quando Rondo, for example, is currently serving at least 39 years in prison for killing a cab driver. During his trial and appeal, Lil Durk stepped up and paid for a lawyer to represent Rondo. Now, even though Durk isn't known as a shooter or killer, he's seen as a loyal and stand-up guy who always looks out for his close ones. Despite becoming a huge name in the music industry, Durk never left his gang ties behind. He's always stayed true to his roots, and when things go wrong, he often resorts back to his old ways. One example of this is his friendship with King Von. Their bond was built on the streets, and gang culture shaped that friendship. In 2020, Durk got caught up in a violent situation with Quando Rondo's crew, which led to the tragic death of King Von. That event caused a major setback in Durk's career and shook his empire to the core. Lil Durk started his label Only the Family, OTF, back in 2010, and he's always said that OTF isn't a gang. But things took a serious turn in 2022 when 5 men linked to OTF were charged with trying to kill Quando Rondo. The charges were related to the 2020 shooting death of rapper King Von. Court documents revealed that prosecutors believe OTF is more than just a music group. It's also a criminal organization involved in some pretty dangerous activities, all allegedly directed by someone named Banks, which is the name used for Durk in the indictment. While G-Dub is locked up, his empire is left without a leader. It's a tough time for his crew as the consequences of the street life continue to affect him and his family. But while G-Dub is caught up in all this, there's another rapper who seems to be, when it comes to rappers who truly live the life they rapped about, King Von is one of the most real examples. Born Devin D. Quinn Bennett, King Von was a rapper from Chicago, a city often called Chirac because of its extreme violence and high murder rates. Von grew up in one of the toughest neighborhoods, O Block, where he was surrounded by other well-known rappers like Chief Keef. Born on the south side of Chicago, Von was raised in the Parkway Gardens Projects, also known as 300, right at the corner of 64th and Martin Luther King Drive. This area is home to the Black Disciples game, and it's commonly called O Block, which became famous in the rap scene. Von's connection to the streets was undeniable. His reputation was so strong that he got the nickname Grandson. This name came from his time in jail, where people said he reminded them of David Barksdale, the founder of the Black Disciples gang. So when Von talked about King David, he wasn't talking about the biblical king, but David Barksdale, who built the Black Disciples into what they are today. It shows just how much Von was a part of this gang culture, even in prison. His life, both on the streets and in his music, was deeply tied to the Black Disciples, and sadly, the violent world he came from caught up with him like so many others in the game. King Von's street credibility was a big part of his story. From the moment you heard about him, you could tell he had a history and it wasn't clean. At just 16, Von was sent to jail, and 2 years later, he was arrested again for carrying a gun. On the streets, Von wasn't just known for his music. He was feared because of the work he put in for his gang. He wasn't shy about it either. He rapped about it openly, even mentioning things like murder in his lyrics. It's rumored that he was involved in a few killings, with one of the most talked about being the death of 17-year-old Gakira Barnes, a member of the Gangster Disciples, who was killed alongside 2 others. But Von's rise in the rap game wasn't just about his street reputation. It was his friend, Lil Durk, who gave him the chance to shine in music. Durk, already big in the Chicago rap scene, saw the potential in Von and signed him to his OTF label. Durk didn't just see Von as a talented rapper, he saw a friend who needed support and guidance to make it in the industry. King Von's rise to fame was impressive, but it was also short-lived. While he was climbing to the top, danger was always close by. By the time he started making a name for himself, there was already tension between Lil Durk's crew and NBBA YoungBoy's camp, and it eventually spilled over to the artists themselves. On November 6, 2020, everything changed. King Von and his crew were hanging out at the Monaco Hookah Lounge in Atlanta when they ran into Quando Rondo and his group. What started as a simple meeting quickly turned into chaos. King Von went up to Quando Rondo, and without warning, he charged at him, throwing punches. But what happened next shocked everyone. Eugene Ace is one of the most feared rappers in Jacksonville, leading a gang called ATK, Ace's Top Killers. His crew has been linked to some of the most dangerous and violent actions in the city. But what really puts Eugene Ace in the spotlight is his intense rivalry with rapper Julio Foolio. Though Ace has said he's never met Foolio, their ongoing beef has been a huge part of his rise to fame. In 2021, Ace dropped a track called Who I Smoke that shocked the world. The song, featuring his crew Spinnin' Wopa, Wika Choa, and Fast Money Goon, is filled with references to people who have passed away, making it a controversial hit. Since the release of this track, Jacksonville's rap scene has changed completely, and unfortunately, so has the violence in the city. As wild as it sounds, the more people have died, the more popular the song became. It's a sad reality that violence is feeding into the fame. The lyrics of Who I Smoke are filled with dead rivals' names, making it clear that this isn't just rap, it's real life for Eugene Ace. Eugene Ace is one of the most talked about rappers from Jacksonville, but not just for his music. He's gained attention for his involvement in the street gang life, and some of his most famous songs, like Who I Smoked, have sparked huge controversy. In this track, Eugene Ace and his crew openly mention rival gang members who've passed away, and even boast about being involved in their deaths. It's hard to imagine how such a dark topic can be tied to an upbeat melody, but that's exactly what happens in this song, which samples Vanessa Carlton's 1,000 Miles. The melody might sound sweet, but the lyrics are anything but. When asked about it, Eugene Ace said it's normal. For him and his crew, dissing dead rivals is part of the culture they grew up in. Who I Smoke isn't the only song like this. Eugene Ace has released other tracks where he disrespects the dead, talking about his involvement in the killings and bragging about it. This isn't just music for him, it's a reflection of the brutal street life that influences everything he does. Julio Foolio is a well-known rapper from Jacksonville, Florida, and he's famous for being Eugene Ace's biggest rival. He is connected to a group called KTA, which stands for Kill Them All. Though Foolio has said KTA isn't a real gang, people still link him to it because of his actions and what's been reported in the media. Foolio's life in the streets started when he was just a kid. Growing up on the north side of Jacksonville, one of the most dangerous areas in the city, he saw violence up close. At only 12 years old, Foolio witnessed his friend's mom get shot right in front of him. This moment had a huge impact on him, and it's one of the reasons he felt he needed to buy his first gun while he was still in middle school. Foolio said he had to protect himself because there were always people with guns who could come after him and his friends. Even though he was young, he knew he had to stand up to older people who were often the ones threatening him. In a place where violence has been a part of daily life for as long as anyone can remember, it's not hard to understand why someone like Julio Foolio turned to the streets. Growing up in Jacksonville's toughest areas, Foolio saw death up close from a young age. By the time he was just 12, he watched a close friend's mom get killed right in front of him. That moment pushed him to buy his first gun when he was only in 7th grade. Foolio knew he had to protect himself. His neighborhood was filled with enemies, and violence was just a part of survival. As Foolio grew up, the violence didn't stop. His gang, KTA, went head-to-head with ATK, led by Young Ace, in a bitter rivalry. What started as a small disagreement soon turned deadly, and lives were lost on both sides. One of the most painful losses was Foolio's cousin Bibby, who was killed by members of ATK. This sparked an all-out war between the two gangs, and the violence just kept escalating. Foolio's story is one that echoes the harsh reality many face when they live the street life. He was on top of the world, music booming, making money, and holding his ground in the game. But we all know the street life doesn't come without its risks. And for Foolio, those risks eventually caught up with him. After celebrating his birthday, he posted his location on social media, and just hours later, his life was taken. It was a tragic end, but not an unexpected one. Quando Rondo, born Tycoon Bowman, has had one of the luckiest lives in the streets. Despite everything that's come his way, he's managed to escape some of the most dangerous situations. He's faced legal troubles, yet somehow, he's never served significant time. Rondo got caught up in a major fight with King Von and came out alive, though tragically his cousin lost his life. It's crazy how he keeps surviving, especially when it seems like things were stacked against him. But his life wasn't always easy. As a teenager, he spent time in juvenile detention centers, and by 2019, was stuck in county jail for a while until he was bailed out. Around the same time, he started getting more involved in gang life, which led him to join the Rolling 60s neighborhood Crips in Savannah and Atlanta. If you're not familiar, the Rolling 60s are a notorious gang with roots in Los Angeles. They've been around for a long time, and their reach goes far beyond the West Coast. Rondo's choice to link up with them was part of the path he took. But through it all, he found a way into music and started making a name for himself. Let's dive into the story of one of the most talked about rappers, Quando Rondo. Now, if you're familiar with the world of street gangs, you know the Crips are a huge name in that scene. They started in Los Angeles back in 1976 around Hyde Park, and over the years they spread to other cities, including Savannah and Atlanta. One of the biggest and most well-known factions of the Crips is the Rolling 60s neighborhood Crips. This group alone has around 1,600 members, making it one of the largest and most influential Crip sets in Los Angeles. What's interesting is how these gang members mark their territory. They often rep certain logos, like the Seattle Mariners or the Chicago White Sox, and you'll see their gang's name written in graffiti all over different places. This helps the world know exactly who controls the area. Now, when it comes to Quando Rondo, things got a little more serious. He's not just a rapper, he's been connected to the Rolling 60s Crips for a long time. In fact, he got into some serious legal trouble. Back in June, a grand jury indicted him on several charges, including conspiracy to violate Georgia's drug laws and illegal use of communication facilities. Quando Rondo's journey has taken some surprising turns, especially when he decided to step away from the Rolling 60s Crips gang. It's not as easy as just saying, "I'm done with this." There's a whole process to officially leave a gang. But that's what Rondo did after his issues with AF, Only the Family. People started to wonder if the charges against him were connected to his past gang life or if they were something more recent. One theory, shared by 1090 Jake, suggests that Rondo distanced himself from the gang for his own safety and to keep his music career alive. It's not an easy decision, especially when your past is so closely tied to the streets. It made people question if it's even possible to truly escape that lifestyle once you've been so deep into it. When 21 Savage moved from London to Atlanta, he quickly gained attention for his music, hitting it big with several successful tracks. But there's another side to 21 Savage that many might not know, his deep connection to the streets. He's known to be a member of the 2100 Slaughter 4L, a group that's a part of the infamous Sex Money Murder gang. The two guns up hand gesture that 21 Savage used to throw up in his early rap videos was a clear sign of his ties to SMM. Now, there's been some confusion about which gang 21 Savage actually reps. In a 2019 interview with Vlad, he set the record straight, saying he's a Blood. Although he didn't dive into the details about which set he's a part of, he admitted he got involved with it around the age of 19. Even though he often talks about being a Blood in his music, his connections to SMM show how deeply rooted he is in the gang life. His story is a reminder that the lines between the streets and the music world can sometimes blur. 21 Savage, the rapper everyone knows from Atlanta, didn't just get into music and success by chance. Before his rap career took off, he was already tied to street life. He's a proud member of the Slaughter Gang, SL4L, which he and his friends started long before he even thought about joining the Bloods. To clear things up, a fan community on Reddit gave us a deeper look into 2100 Slaughter. This gang has roots in the East Atlanta zone, specifically the 2100 block of Glenwood Road. They started out as a mix of Sex Money Murder and 9 Trey Bloods. You'll also find their influence spread all over the city, from Old 4th Ward to Boulevard, and even the West Side with a group called Westside 2100. This gang is also closely linked with the 4L faction of Bloods, and 21 Savage and his people are considered one of the main founders. He didn't just join a gang for the fun of it. It was a way of life that shaped his early years in Atlanta. And you know why? When he saw so many people out there trying to enrich the gang of these people like him, when Tekashi 669 joined the 9 Trey Gangsta Bloods in 2017, he thought he was making a smart move. He believed that joining this powerful gang would give him the protection he needed and make him more authentic in the eyes of the streets. Little did he know, he was walking straight into a world full of violence, revenge, and power struggles, not just against rival gangs, but even within his own. Tekashi thought being in the gang would give him a boost in his music career, but the reality was far from what he expected. In fact, it put him in serious danger. The gang wasn't just about loyalty, it was about being the toughest. To stay at the top, you had to prove your strength, even if it meant hurting the people around you. When Tekashi found himself in legal trouble, things got worse. In court, he testified against his own gang members, revealing secrets and betraying the people who once supported him. His testimony, along with evidence like texts, social media posts, and phone calls, gave jurors a shocking look into the gang's operations. They saw how members fought for power and respect, often turning on each other in the process. Fast forward to 2018 and things took a huge turn. Tekashi realized that being in the gang was putting him in real danger, not just from rival gangs, but from his own crew too. So, less than a year after joining, he did something no one expected. He tried to get out. How? Well, when he was arrested, he didn't hesitate. He pled guilty to a bunch of serious charges like racketeering and conspiracy. But that's not all. He turned on his own gang, cooperating with federal agents to bring them all down. Now, you're probably wondering why he joined in the first place. Well, in court, Tekashi explained that the 9 Trey gang saw him as a way to make money. They were using him to fund their activities, and he thought being in the gang's music videos would make him even more popular. But in less than a year, he realized that wasn't the type of respect he needed, and it wasn't worth the cost of his safety. So, what's the takeaway here? Never get caught up in seeking validation from the wrong places. Make sure you use your time wisely and focus on what really matters. Don't let anyone or anything put your life at risk for the wrong reasons. If this story caught your attention, there's more like it. Click the card on your screen to check out similar videos.